Hello English 9, this is Mrs. Long, and I hope you guys had a wonderful warm weekend. This is that exciting time of year when temperatures are going up and the number of days remaining are getting fewer. It's a good time of year. As my son's kindergarten teacher reminded me, though, we do still have 3 weeks left, and even in kindergarten, that 3 weeks can be important. I also want to thank you for those of you that gave your attention to acuity last week, especially as some deadlines are being met, and there were lots of snags along the way, either last week or previously to that. So thank you for doing that. A little bit of a hassle, but it's something that is important to our school district in terms of measuring your progress. This week we are beginning Unit 8, Session 3, continuing our process with reviews. You guys have done some great work in exploring reviews, and in this week you're going to get to actually start some pre-writing for that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's on tap for the week. There's a session plan here that includes the number of points and the potential schedule that you could follow. With a little bit of research is involved this week and some pre-writing. You'll be doing your rough draft this week. And so you'll move from the session plan to an introduction that reminds you about those essential questions, what it is that you're learning. And one of the things you really need to know is about your perspective versus the other perspectives of your audience and how you can influence them. Think about details you're going to be using, because most of you agreed that the best reviews had good details. And think about the difference between what's called primary research and secondary research. You may have heard this in your social studies courses. Primary research is your own individual research. Secondary is what you gather from other people's research. And you will need some other opinions. If you're looking at a movie with special effects, you might want to be quoting someone who is in the field of creating special effects, and so forth. So you'll be doing some thinking about the essential questions. And just remind you of what we're looking for in a review. A summary of the subject without giving too much away. There's that whole spoiler alert concept. And the strengths and limitations of claims. If you're going to say that the acting was superb of this particular actor, or that the special effects were super, then be sure to support those claims, and to what extent is it limited, and is there anyone that would argue against you? Excuse me, and have some support for that with some secondary sources. Giving advice to the reader about what's important. Should you go see this? Should you not see this? Should you read this? Should you visit this restaurant or not? And then using different kinds of arguments to support those, whether it's logical arguments, the credibility you get from being a trustworthy person, or the emotions that hook people. And so those are all things to think about as you write your reviews. Last week there was a brief mention about picking your subject for your review, and that's something that you should be familiar with. A movie, a book, a restaurant, a play, something that you already know pretty well. As you start it, though, you are going to need to do some research to find what other people have said about that source. Again, experts in the field, different viewers. And so you'll want to be able to cite them with a works cited page. And if you remember in your definition essay, you did some works cited practice there. This is your bibliography, only not bibliography, works cited. The entire page should have a 1-inch margin with a title at the top that says works cited. And then you'll use different formatting depending on what you're using as your sources. You should have 3. I really suggest you go take the easy route and go to easybib.com, and it'll completely format your works cited for you. You can also use these guidelines here if you want to kind of work at it, tweak at it by yourself. It is worth knowing, but it is an expectation as you go up in academia, as you go up through high school, that you'll be able to use a works cited in MLA format. And then you'll begin double spacing by changing your paragraph settings to double space. And when you get done with your works cited, it should look something like this. And so you'll be turning that in this unit this week and submitting that directly into the Dropbox. Then you'll begin your pre-writing for your topic. Think about your engaging introductions, and it is commonly said that you can write your body and then come back to your introductions. So if you get stuck and you absolutely can't move on, just start writing your review, and then you may come back and have an idea on how to approach the introduction. The sequence of information that you're going to include. Think about the voice you're going to use and your purpose for writing it. Who are you writing to and what are you trying to convey to them? What is it that they should take home from this? And then think about how you can use irony, because that always makes for a memorable review. And there are some resources here if you need that. So then you'll move along and you'll submit your pre-writing. And then your third major task for the week, click, is to look at summarizing and the different arguments that you can use and then compose your final draft. So as you're summarizing, you'll find this very entertaining review on how to write a summary without giving away too much. Again, that whole spoiler alert thing. Actually, I like it when people tell me at the end, because then I don't have to worry about what's going to happen and who's going to die. But generally, people don't like that. So think about how much to summarize. The different appeals of argument that you can use. Logos, L for logic, is the logical appeal, all the reasons and the claims and the evidence that would say this is true. You'll want to argue that your position is correct with some logic. You'll also want to use ethos, which is your idea of credibility, and you can create credibility, among other things, by using well-documented sources. You want to sound confident. You want to sound like you know what you're talking about. You're a credible person. And then you might want to use some emotional appeals or pathos there. And those can reinforce the arguments, but they're the other logical arguments, but they are not solely an argument by themselves. And appeal to some of the things that make us human, the things that would make us want to read a review, would make us want to see that movie and really experience that in a different way. So you'll want to tie all that together, your summary, your logical arguments of logos, ethos, and pathos, and put it together as you complete your first draft. This is your basic outline right here that you can use. Reminder that you're going to have 2, maybe 3 topics that you're going to address about your subject, and an introduction that has a nice hook that gets people involved. Not my review is about, but something a little bit more engaging. And as you write, remember to do some in-text citations. And then as you finish up your pre-writing, you'll submit that and you're off to the races. You are done with the week. And one more week after this is where you will finalize your review. And then that last week before the end of the semester is kind of a catch-all week that has been provided in the schedule for you. So that's it. Have a great week. Enjoy the sunshine and be in touch. Thanks.